Hello, hello, and welcome to my Lunch and Learn, where each and every week we explore topics to help you elevate your mindset, be at your best, and radically expand your life and business. And today we are talking about 3 ways you can stay consistent in the midst of chaos. So if you've ever felt like everything is finally in a good groove, your routines, your focus, your energy, and then bam, something comes up and throws you off course, throws you off track, you are not alone. One of our themes at the Abundance Academy this season is consistency because so many people were craving it. They were on the wagon, off the wagon, on the wagon, off the wagon, and they wanted to just feel aligned. So that's what we're talking about today. But before we get into things, I want to know where you're joining in from. If you're tuning in by replay, type in replay in the chat. And if it's your very first time here, type in first time in the chat because I thank you for being here and truly do appreciate your presence. Now, some of you know me, some of you don't. I'm Larisa McCook, Canada's leading abundance mentor. And I work with professional women who are committed to personal growth and are ready to create a life and business that they want and love. A life that is aligned with their absolute highest potential. Now, fall is in full swing. Kids are back at school. They're settled into their routines. Finally, ours took a little longer to get settled into. Work is picking up. You're ready for that fresh start. You've set new goals. You're thinking about 2026. You're wrapping up this year, refresh your routines, and maybe you've even picked up some new habits. But what happens is before long, life starts throwing these curveballs, and maybe projects take longer than expected. Family issues pop up. You get behind, you scramble to catch up, and it just feels like you're taking 1, 2, 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. 1, 2, 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. You're moving ahead, but you feel like there are things that keep getting in your way. Now, imagine instead that when disruption happens, you're able to stay grounded and you're like, okay, things are coming up. And you don't feel like you're taking those 2 steps back. You know what to focus on. You know what you can let go of. You know how to adapt without losing that momentum. And chaos that comes up isn't actually chaos. It doesn't derail you. It actually helps you refine yourself and refine things in your life. And it becomes the environment where your consistency deepens instead of disappears. And so I want you to think of chaos as a strong wind. It's just blowing. And if you're scattered, it knocks you over. But if you're rooted, if you're anchored in your priorities, if you're anchored in your purpose and systems, that wind can actually propel you forward just like an airplane that's actually headed in the right direction, right? It might seem off course a bit of the time, but strong tailwind can actually propel that plane forward, and it often does. So consistency. Consistency is showing up aligned with your goals, with your values, with your day-to-day, regardless of how you feel. Consistency is the bridge between intention and results. And this might seem like a trivial thing, but it is absolutely critical because when you can stay consistent between your intention and results, you know what you have? You get something called integrity. And that's something that just is so powerful to us. And that is the one thing that when you have integrity with yourself and with others, you can walk with your head up high because you are walking with a certain level of alignment, with pride, with this knowing that you're following through. Now, on the other hand, chaos is this unpredictable circumstance, unpredictable emotions, maybe unpredictable events that pull your attention away from what you're focused on. And chaos isn't often a problem. Like chaos in and of itself is not a problem. There's chaos everywhere in the world in one way or another. However, what is the problem is how you respond to it. Because 2 people can be looking at the exact same situation and one sees it as chaos and another sees it as something called opportunity. And so I want you to start looking at the words you're using in your life, the way you're responding to things that are showing up. Now, neuroscience tells us that the brain thrives on predictability. it reduces stress, and it conserves energy when things are predictable. So when life is uncertain, there's a part of your brain called the amygdala, which is like the brain's fear center. And the amygdala activates and it triggers what's called the fight or flight or freeze response. So it's almost like the amygdala says, danger, danger, danger. And it puts you at this like heightened response rate, and it's not necessarily an effective one because you're trying to preserve yourself. But when you introduce structure, a clear focus, rituals, what happens is you shift back to the prefrontal cortex, which is the part that's responsible for planning, for logic, and creativity. Now, research from University of London shows that routines and structure reduce cognitive load by up to 40%. Let me say that again. Routines and structure reduce cognitive load by up to 40%. What this does is it frees up mental bandwidth for higher level thinking and problem solving. This is huge because when life feels chaotic, the solution isn't to work harder. The solution is to create more stability through focus, purpose, and systems. And so here's what you need to know. Just before we get into the 3 strategies I'm going to share with you, I want you to open yourself up to and be willing to listen to this mindset shift. Staying consistent isn't just a productivity issue. It's a word that's used in the world of productivity, but it's not a productivity issue. It's actually a relationship between structure and flow, between the mindset and mechanics, the head and the heart. And when you integrate both of these aspects, the head, the heart, the structure, the flow, chaos can become a teacher instead of a trigger. So I don't want you to be afraid of it. I want you to see it for what it is. Get yourself to a state of neutrality, embrace it, and roll with it. So it might be a different way of looking at it, but when you perceive something as dangerous, when you perceive something as scary or chaotic or extreme, is it really that, or is this something you're making up in your own head because your neighbor 3 feet away might be able to look at it in a very different way? So what would actually serve you? And you might have to slow it down a little bit and peel back the layers to get to this point. It may not happen overnight, but the more you start looking at situations in your life this way, the more, I promise you, things will get easier. Things will get more peaceful. Things will get more calm. Now, first way to stay consistent in the midst of chaos. This is a simple one. It might be so underwhelming, but you've got to know what your priorities are. You've got to focus on your priorities and choose those priorities deliberately. What is most important to you? This is why in our abundance focus system, we evaluate our annual goals every single quarter. Every 90 days, we meet and we look at what are the priorities for the next 3 months. Did I meet my priorities? Did I set my priorities effectively? How am I in relation to my priorities? And what do I actually want? If these priorities weren't really upheld, maybe I just don't care about them and they're not really things that are truly important to me. So you've got to know what your priorities are. And this sounds like such a simple thing. I promise you, it's easy to say, like, what are your top 3 goals? What are the top things that are most important to you? I know I'm saying it. And yes, it is easy. But if you haven't been in a practice of doing it and really identifying what that is for you with your head, with your heart, with your entire life, it can take time. It is a learned skill. You can absolutely learn it. But don't worry if you're not like, oh my God, like these priorities aren't a natural thing. Yes, you can build the priority muscle, but you've got to actually take the time. Now, the thing is, you can't stay consistent if you're trying to be everywhere doing everything. There's something called the law of sacrifice, which basically says you've got to give up something of a lower nature to make room for something of a higher nature. Okay, so law of sacrifice states you've got to give up something of a lower nature to make room for something of a higher nature. Give up complaining for your greatness. Give up extra screen time so you can go achieve your dreams. Give up sleeping in so you can get in shape. So ask yourself, what matters most right now? What matters most in this season? And what can you lovingly release to make space for what truly matters? Because I promise you, if you want new clothes in your closet, you're going to have to get rid of some of the old things that are no longer relevant. You want to put more stuff in your purse at some point, ladies. Things will have to be removed from your purse. Not everything belongs there. And so when everything feels urgent, this is where you hit the pause button and choose your top one, two, or three priorities at most. Okay. So let's say maybe you have a goal for your business, a goal for your health, a goal for your personal relationships. You might have little goals for each of those, but everything else becomes secondary. And ultimately, less equals more. Focus creates peace. One of the things I was obsessed with this summer was counting my steps. And now I still count my steps. I'm not as obsessed with it. However, literally the only thing I focused on while I was learning how to get my steps in, minimum 5,000, aiming for 10,000 a day. I was obsessed. My son asked me about my steps. My family asked me about my steps. They're like, where are you at with your steps? Why? Because that was literally the only thing I focused on for about 3 to 5 weeks. It was the only thing I talked about. I was obsessed at looking at where my steps were, but now I can gauge where my steps are. I glance at my phone a couple times a day and make sure I'm on track. But that habit has been ingrained in me. Why? Because I focused on it and now it's a part of who I am. Second, connect to and anchor your why. Now, if your life feels chaotic, you've got to keep your why top of mind, because your why keeps you anchored. It is your purpose. It is your driving force behind your goals, dreams, and priorities. Motivation fades, but purpose sustains. And how do you find your why? Like, what is your why? Your why is the reason for doing things. It is the emotional driver that gets you up when you feel like stopping. So when you have a goal or an intention that you're working towards, this area of focus, you ask yourself, why does this even matter? Why do I care? Sometimes I even like to ask, why do I give a shit? Why? Because if I don't give a shit, I'm not going to do it. Promise you. Why do I care? I don't know why I care. Why is this important? They're all the same kind of question, but they might elicit slightly different responses. But you want to really look through what the significance is of this and go deeper and deeper. Why is that important? Why is that important? Why is that important to me? Why is that important to my family? Do I even care? Okay, what is the significance? What impact does it create for me and others? So keep going layers and layers deep. And when you start to connect to that why, that purpose, that reason daily, you're actually training your nervous system. You're like using your little nervous system muscles to stay regulated even when external circumstances change, because you're going to like, oh, well, this thing came up, but this is more important for me. So let's just keep moving. Science says that people who visualize their purpose and connect to it emotionally are 42% more likely to achieve their goals. So there's this idea of like, yeah, visualize your goal, but visualize like the significance behind it, the people that will be impacted, how your life will change. It's not just the thing you want. Your goals are nice, but they don't matter that much. It's the thing that you're going to get out of it. And so when you anchor your why each morning, whether it's through journaling or visualization or your abundant morning practice, this is key. This is exactly why we started our morning success calls with our clients at the Abundance Academy. Why? Because they would go to seminars and be like, yay, I'm inspired. And I would do this too. And then come home and life gets in the way. They would come on our Monday night calls and our clients were like, Larisa, Mondays is the best day of the week. It sets our tone. We are on fire. I'm always better on a Tuesday and pretty good on a Wednesday. But by Wednesday afternoon, Thursday, things started to peter out. And what I realized is they were motivated, but they didn't have enough of that staying power. They needed to recommit every single day. And so we literally started morning success calls so they can make that recommitment every single day. And I liked it too. So that's why we've stuck with it. The thing is, life will happen. The dog will eat your homework. What kids will get sick. Life will go on. Things will fall apart. But when you have a daily reset, you're not going to stay off course very long. And when you have the support and the reminders to actually reconnect to what's most important to you, it's going to make things easier. Number 3. Okay, third point. So lean into systems and structures. Now, James Clear says you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Consistency isn't about willpower, it's about infrastructure. And systems and structures, they create that predictability, which calms the nervous system, right? We just talked about this, but that ensures that progress will happen even on chaotic days. So, what are some ways that you can incorporate systems and structures? Your morning and evening routines, your weekly planning and reflection, your the abundance focus system, right? We have an accountability program built into our world. We have structures and systems so clients know what to do when, and it's in their calendar. They just got to show up. We remind them to check things that they've committed to. It's easy peasy. Maybe having an accountability partner or a success buddy. But when you know what you want to do and when you're going to do it, you're going to spend a lot less time deciding and figuring out and spinning and spinning and spinning. And you're going to spend more time just doing what needs to get done. I can't even tell you how many times people spend like 20 minutes staring at their screen or thinking about what to do, when if they had taken that 20 minutes to plan their whole week or their whole quarter or their whole section of whatever period of time, they would know what to do and get going. But you've got to do that advanced planning. You can always navigate and change course, but when you've done that advanced planning, you are in a much stronger position to be able to adapt. Predictability, it breeds peace, and that peace, it fuels consistency. So let me just recap. If you want to stay consistent in the midst of chaos, because guaranteed chaos will come, but you don't have to see it as a bad thing. You can start seeing it as a learning opportunity, a growth opportunity, and just something neutral. It is what it is. It's a thing that happens. Stop talking and using the word chaos. Just start going, oh, it's a thing that's happening. Okay, thing that's happening, not a big deal. First, choose your focus and let go of what's not serving you. Second, anchor your why and connect to your deeper purpose. Third, lean into systems and structures that make success inevitable. So, what I want you to do, if you have not yet, identify your top 3 priorities for quarter 4. What are the most important things you want to get done between now and the end of the year? What are the most important things you're going to focus on? You could, if you only got one, stick to one. I'm saying up to 3 because you might have other areas of your life you want. But you're going to be obsessed with this, and you're not going to scatter yourself. Most important things. Write down your why for each, and then choose one system you're going to strengthen this week. Is it your morning routine? Is it your weekly planning? Is it an accountability partner? Maybe joining the abundance focus system and the community so you can have that partnership and that support to help you move along and cross the finish line strong with focus and with alignment, whatever that is. But chaos does not have to stop your growth. It can fuel it. And when you stay rooted in that focus, anchored in purpose, and supported by systems, you move forward with clarity and calm, no matter what is happening around you. So if you would like some guided support to help you do this, to maybe pinpoint where some of your greatest roadblocks are, you can't always see the forest through the trees. When you're in your own mess, it's hard to filter through it. So if you'd like help identifying your greatest roadblocks, clarifying your priorities, and mapping out your best next steps, I would love to offer you a no pressure clarity call. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at what's working and what's not right now in your life, where you're losing your time, your energy, and focus, and what the most effective path is to get you moving forward with confidence. And if it makes sense to work together inside one of our programs, we can talk about that. And if not, we are going to help you identify what does make sense for you right now. So this is about clarity. It is about commitment so you can move forward with certainty and ease. So think of consistency like this tree where your roots are your systems, the trunk is your focus, and the branches are your purpose reaching towards possibilities. Now, storms, they may shake the leaves, but when your foundation is strong, you stay standing tall. So if you want to book a clarity call, mention clarity call in the chat, and we will reach out to you and let you know how you can book that. Someone on my team will reach out to you and send you a link. Just make sure you are following us on the social media platform that you're actually on so we can find you. Okay, so make sure we're connected, we're friended, we are connected. But we will make sure to reach out to you and let you know how you can get yourself booked. Just mention clarity call in the chat, and let's get your focus, your structure, and your momentum fully aligned for quarter 4 and beyond. Bye for now.